Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, welcome to the weekly comic book review here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And this was a huge, explosive new comic book day this week, so get ready for it. And we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Wasted Space number 8. Vault Comics has always been impressive to me, but lately they just keep getting better and better and better with each new release, with every new series, with every new issue, every single month. Vault Comics is just raising that bar. At least in my opinion, they're pumping out some of the greatest sci-fi and fantasy stories on the market today, not just comic books, just period, for me. Wasted Space is one of the absolute best Vault comic books, probably might be my favorite now. This book is amazing. It is fantastic. And issue 8 is by far the best issue of the series yet. Maybe just one of the best issues that Vault Comics has ever produced yet. Seriously amazing. I did an advanced review of this that released Monday morning, so you can check out more of my in-depth thoughts on that video. But basically, all in a nutshell, writer Michael Morisi, artist Hayden Sherman, colorist Jason Wordie, letterer Jim Campbell, they're doing such an amazing job on this book and helping it define itself, rising it above just the simple comparisons to something like Preacher meets Star Wars with a little bit of Philip K. Dick. And I've been saying that for months and months and months. But this book has transcended that. It's gone beyond that. It's definitely found its own identity, its own purpose, and it cements it in this issue. A great issue that asks tough philosophical questions. It's about redemption. It's about forgiveness. It's about all of that and more. It's about so much, so subtle, but still very funny, very snarky, a little bit satirical, really fun stuff. Outlandish, irreverent, real fun, but it's really got this nice golden heart, just filled with nuggets of personal truth, at least for me. Wasted Space was absolutely amazing. It totally, on this huge new comic book day, where so much awesomeness is coming out on the shelves, Wasted Space number 8 soars above the rest, but it only soars slightly higher than the next comic book I'm going to talk about, Friendo number 5, another book from Vault, from writer Alex Packnadel, artist Martin Simmons, colorist Dee Cunniffe, and letterer Taylor Esposito. This book has been amazing. This is the final issue. A couple weeks ago, I released an early advanced review. Look at this. If you want to know more about my in-depth thoughts on that, definitely check out that video. But Vault Comics, they keep doing it. And this ending was fantastic. It was amazing. It wasn't quite the ending I expected, but it's definitely the ending that the series deserved. This has been a really scathing look at consumerism, at capitalism, at humanity, at modern society. This book has just laid it all bare in this terrible nightmare of a not too distant future. So think of it more as a warning, but I loved every single bit of it. It's funny, it's violent, it's crazy, it's got this neat little twist tie-in to like The Wizard of Oz thematically. Really cool stuff, definitely worth rereading over and over again. All 5 issues are out now. Alex Packnadel and his friends over at White Noise have re-upped with Vault, so they're going to get another slew of books from these guys. Friendo is absolutely amazing. Check it out if you haven't already. Trade's going to be out soon if you can't find those issues. That book was almost pick of the week too, right there. Also, it's over there, so I don't really have it. Well, I'll just go grab it real quick. So over here real quick, I'm going to point this out. Vault also has released a cool black and white version of These Savage Shores, part of the Vault Lines thing. So basically it's the first issue of These Savage Shores, but all in black and white. So you can really look at that beautiful, elegant illustrations by Sumit Kumar. Fantastic line work, great stuff. This is another fantastic book from Vault. Vault's just killing it lately, and I think they win New Comic Book Day, even on a day where something like Detective Comics 1000 releases. So Detective Comics 1000 is here. Is it worth it? Well, absolutely. It's a nice celebration of 80 years of Batman history through Detective Comics. Real fun stories by some of the top creators in the industry right now, especially some of the top Batman creators, right? I love that cover. Everybody's been asking me what cover I'm going to get. It's that Steve Rude 30s cover. He did my favorite cover on Action Comics 1000, so it's nice to have the pair to kind of go against each other, right? Anyway, overall, it's pretty fun. Nice little stories that don't really ultimately, just the last story maybe has a little bit of oomph to it, a little bit of impact into the future of Batman, because the last story is by Peter Tomasi introducing a new / old character. Really interesting stuff there, but overall it's really, really fun. Lots of fun little tiny Batman stories. It's a really enjoyable read. Real quick, my favorite one out of all of them was the Warren Ellis, Becky Cloonan story. I thought that one was probably the most well done. The Kevin Smith, Jim Lee one is pretty decent. The Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo one is actually really cool. It starts off with a bang there. There's a Paul Dini, Dustin Nguyen story that feels like an episode of Batman the Animated Series. There's a really nice one with Denny O'Neil and Steve Epting. And Steve Epting especially because Elizabeth Brettweiser doing the coloring. The art on that, I'll just show you something real quick. Look at the art. Epting with Brett Weiser on the coloring. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. There's a story with Christopher Priest and Neil Adams. That one's probably my least favorite in the entire thing. That one was all right. The Bendis and Malief story is interesting, but ultimately not. It didn't really engage me that much, but the art was great, and there's some straight-up scenes in there where it looks like Penguin. It's Danny DeVito Penguin. I was also disappointed in the Jeff Johns, Kelly Jones story. I thought it was okay. The Tynion and Martinez Bueno story, pretty decent. Nice little focus on Dick Grayson for that one. The Tom King story is a lot of work to a little bit of a payoff, which some people may say about Tom King's work in general. I don't really think so. But his story was all right. Tony Daniel on that one. Some nice little pinups. And then at the end, you got Peter Tomasi and Doug Mahnke setting up their next Detective Comics story. A lot of, there's a fan favorite character in there that a lot of people are going to be excited about. So Detective Comics 1000 is probably going to be the biggest book of the week. It's really cool, but do not forget to check out some of these other books when you're out there scoping out your Detective Comics. Number 1000, a new book, for instance, like Dial H for Hero. I first read this a few weeks ago, and it blew me away. I really, really liked it, so I read it again today. It was fantastic. Really, really cool stuff. Sam Humphries, Joe Quinones, doing a nice little mini-series, taking that Dial H for Hero concept that DC's kind of had in the toy chest for a long time. They always pull it out here and there. Starts off strong. Again, gets a little bit of weak, then it kind of gets canceled. But this is a really cool, fresh interpretation of it. I really, really did like it. The artwork is very nice. Great, beautiful line work with elegant, luxurious coloring. The story is great. The new character is great. The voices ring true. This book was really, really fun. If you've been liking Wonder Comics, definitely one of, just like the rest of them, fantastic stuff. Dial H for Hero, it's just a mini-series. This first issue is really, really engaging, very hooking, very enthralling, and it's got beautiful, beautiful art. But what Sam Humphries and company do is they take that concept of Dial H for Hero, which is basically a telephone that a person can call, and then they like become a superhero, but they also kind of make it work as a commentary on comic books themselves. At least that's what it seems like they're trying to get into. But a great new character, very fresh, very hip feeling. I really, really like that. Heroes in Crisis number 7 is here. So at first this book started off and everybody's like, you know, it's not really, feels a little thin. And I'm like, you know what though, there are elements that I really, really like. And in Heroes in Crisis, in every single issue, there's been scenes that I absolutely adore and think are amazing. There's some Wally West stuff in this issue in particular. It's pretty spot on. The rest of it though, to me, this book is just very thin, a little confusing. It's all over the place. I'm not sold on this whole Batgirl, Harley Quinn team up, and even the Booster Gold, Blue Beetle stuff is, I don't know. This book is not, the last few issues especially, it's just not been working for me. We got 2 issues left in this series, so we're going to see what they do. There's some interesting kind of stuff that's set up in this one, but ultimately, Heroes in Crisis has been leaving me a little wanting lately. Another book that's been leaving me wanting lately is Action Comics 1009. I really like what Bendis is doing with the character of Superman, especially over in the Superman main title. But these second stories, right? They've kind of taken a little bit of a dip. So over in Superman, we're dealing with what happened to Jonathan Kent, right? And that's interesting and that's cool. But ever since the Invisible Mafia story wrapped up and we're now into this Leviathan Rising, building up to this big Leviathan type stuff, you got Steve Epting on the artwork. It's beautiful. The artwork is great. It's elegant. It's simple. It's great. It's detailed. It's textured. It's all that stuff and more. But the story's just losing me a little bit. It's a little uninteresting. It doesn't really feel big. It doesn't feel as epic as the story's trying to make it seem. A lot of stuff just kind of happens. I don't know. I'm still liking Bendis' characterization of Superman. I'm loving his characterization of Lois and all the other people around. But for some reason, the main gist of the story isn't really doing much for me right now. But you do have a question appearance in here, which that's pretty dope. But even that, I'm still just like, I don't know. I'm expecting a little bit more. This building up to this big Leviathan thing, I'm still confused. It still feels a little out of nowhere, maybe a little inorganic. But the characterizations and the voices are still there. But there's just something about the overall just the story that's just losing me a little bit. Shazam number 4 is here. He's got a new movie about to debut. Drew from the PCP crew has seen it, loves it, gives it his stamp of approval. We'll be reviewing that very, very soon. Shazam number 4, though, is here. Jeff Johns, Dale Eaglesham, and a couple others. Let's see, who else was the artist on this one? So it's also Marco Santucci and Mike Ateye doing a great job on the coloring, helping keep everything cohesive. So even though the art does switch between the two different artists, the style doesn't really clash that much. It actually still works. I'm loving this run on Shazam. I think Jeff Johns is doing a great job building up this new mythology for Shazam, taking classic elements, taking a modern sensibility, making it really, really fun, Harry Potter-esque in a way. I love this whole thing about the 7 magic lands, and it's really, really interesting. In this one, you see more of the wild lands, you see more of the game lands, and a little bit of a tease to some other things to come. Really cool ending too. I'm loving what Jeff Johns and company are doing with Shazam. This book has been fun, it's been vibrant, it's been interesting, it's been world building. Worlds building, I should say. I'm loving Shazam right now, absolutely. Flash number 67 is here. Joshua Williamson is joined yet again by Scott Collins, an old school Flash comic book artist that we know and love from the late 90s, early 2000s. Great run with Jeff Johns on the Wally West stuff. Anyway, this is a nice little story. Start off to a new little quick story. We know that we're about to start with Flash Year 1. So you would think that maybe it's just filler until we get up to that. But this was actually a really cool story, an engaging mystery, really cool threat that really just comes right out, grabs you, and hooks you from the very, very first few pages. Well done on this issue of The Flash. Martian Manhunter number 4 is here. This is starting to get a little confusing, starting to get a little lost. I'm starting to get a little lost. This typically happens to me with Steve Orlando work. I read it, I'm into it at first, then I get a little just lost in the story when I'm reading it. It seems like it's a little just too much, a little too abstract maybe at times, so I always have to go back, trade weight, read it all together, and then I actually like his stuff a whole lot better. I love Riley Rosmo's artwork. I think it's great. It's fluid, it's organic, it's something perfect for Martian Manhunter. So I'm loving the artwork, but the story's just, it's getting a little boggy, it's getting a little confusing to me, and I don't necessarily think that it's a fault with Orlando's work, but maybe just the way that Orlando's work comes into my brain. I don't know, there's something about it. But that, you know, it's all right. I do like the artwork, though. I really, really do. Freedom Fighters number 4 is here. This was a fantastic issue. It's set in Earth X, which is a world in the DC multiverse where the Nazis won World War II. We've seen this kind of alternate history fiction throughout comic books and other fictions, like for years and years and years. They're doing it really, really well here. Robert Venditti, Eddie Barrows and company, reigniting some freshness and some energy behind this whole Freedom Fighters concept. The Uncle Sam, Black Condor, Doll Man, Doll Lady, actually, all this kind of stuff, right? The Human Bomb, doing some really interesting things with their powers. Great artwork, a nice story that feels very, very inspirational. So Freedom Fighters number 4 is pretty solid, continuing that. Terrifics number 14 is here. This is Jeff Lemire's final issue, and it has a nice little coda, a nice little wrap-up to Jeff Lemire's run with the Terrifics. All in all, what I would say about the Terrifics is that it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, or as much as I wanted it to be, as much as it was hoped up, like hyped up inside of me. I think switching from artist to artist every couple issues really kind of hurt the consistency of this book. You got Joe Bennett here of Immortal Hulk fame recently to kind of wrap it all up. He did a lot of issues in this series. But it's a nice finale. It's a nice wrap-up. I love this team of characters. He's really built up the Terrifics from just the original 4, introduced new characters like Offspring, well, new old characters. We know Offspring from the Kingdom and all that stuff. I love what Jeff Lemire has done with this title. At a time when we did not have the Fantastic Four, he gave us a Fantastic Four book. It's been fun, not super, super deep, but it's been fun enough. It's been a nice focus on Plastic Man, Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, and Phantom Girl. I've loved it. I loved all the Tom Strong stuff. I really liked it, so it's going to be sad to see Jeff Lemire go, But Jeff Lemire's not slowing down, so have no fear. And the Terrifics is sticking around, at least for a few more issues. We got a new writer coming on next month. Let's go over to Marvel. Daredevil #3 is out this week. Chip Zdarsky, who I was super pumped to meet at HeroesCon this year, but he's canceled. So that kind of sucks. Anyway, Daredevil #3, though, is fantastic. Really, really good. I've been loving this new version of Daredevil. It's not a new version of Daredevil. It's classic Daredevil. It's just a new run. It's just a new creator. It's just Chip Zdarsky, Marco Cicchetto, and Sonny Gao doing an absolute fantastic job. The artwork is so pristine and beautiful, and the coloring, the texture, everything about the artwork in this one is absolutely fantastic. It's a great Daredevil story. It's street, it's raw, it's exactly what it needs to be. It has all those elements that you want from a Daredevil comic book. Chip Zdarsky. Who would have thought that Chip Zdarsky would be a hell of a writer over at Marvel Comics? But he is. Amazing Spider-Man #18 is here, continuing on the Hunted story. This is actually part 2 of the Hunted story. You get the whole main gist of the story. So at first it seems like Craven's taking all these animal-related spider villains and putting them in a park and they're going to hunt after Spider-Man, or he's going to hunt after all of them. It's a little bit different than that, but I do like it. It's nice commentary from Nick Spencer. I think Nick Spencer's been doing a great job on Amazing Spider-Man. I've really loved every single issue. I think he's doing amazing stuff. Humberto Ramos is on the artwork. There's a big threat looming, even bigger than what Craven's doing with the Hunted story. And it's a story that involves Arcade that doesn't really annoy me. But this is really, really good stuff. I'm liking Amazing Spider-Man right now. Fantastic Four #8 is here. Now that we're 8 issues in, this is a nice average run-of-the-mill Fantastic Four run. That's what they're doing. It's not like super exceptional. It's not Mark Waid. It's not Jonathan Hickman. It's not John Byrne. It's not Stan Lee or Jack Kirby for sure. But it is respectful of all those runs that came before. It keeps the flame alive. I really like this book. I like this Doom story. Doom is basically... I don't really want to spoil much, but Doom's doing some crazy stuff right now, and it's really, really interesting. This feels a little bit like classic Doom, but still with that little bit of, like, Doom never thinks of himself as a villain, and I do like the characterizations there. The biggest fault with this issue in particular is that there's, like, so many different artists on here, and it switches from page to page. It's terribly inconsistent on that. Now, this book has been delayed a little bit, so is Iron Man, so it leads you to believe that Dan Slott is somehow just maybe behind on his scripts or something, so bringing in all these other artists to kind of get the issues out and ready on time, but it really, really doesn't help the flow of the book. It really just is very jarring when it goes from one artist to the other. Styles don't always mash up, doesn't feel consistent, but it is a fun story, and seriously, 8 issues in, it's a nice, average, fun Fantastic Four book, which I'm thankful for because we didn't have that for the longest time. Avengers No Road Home #7 is here. This book is up and down for me. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not. What it leads me to believe, the more that I read it, and after reading this issue, is that this is a 10-part story that should not be a 10-part story. Maybe 6, maybe 7. Feels like there's just too much room for the story that they have, and that's just really coming across on me. So it's a nice classic feeling Avengers story. It's interesting, all the Conan stuff, you know, Conan's there, so they're kind of relying on that to really hook you in and keep you interested. You know, Conan shows up in issues 6 and 7, and there's only 10 issues, so you might as well finish out, right? But overall, it's just a little like, this should have only been 6 issues, in my opinion. I don't know. I just think they're stretching it a little thin there. Superior Spider-Man #4 is here, and this book has been fun. I was not expecting to read this beyond issue 1. A relaunch of Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man by Dan Slott, Ryan Stegman and company was great when it was coming out. It was great. That story wrapped up, had a natural, organic ending. Why are we going to try to keep this alive? Why are we going to have Octavius continue to try to be the Superior Spider-Man while Peter Parker's there and so many other Spider-Men, right? And women. Well, it's fun. It's great. It's actually really, really cool. Mike Hawthorne's artwork is fantastic. It's good. And it's really interesting to see Octavius on this true journey to be a hero. It's not unlike Infamous Iron Man, but I actually think it does a better job than Infamous Iron Man did of making the villain / wannabe hero not necessarily likable or relatable, but the quest for redemption feels real, and the lessons learned feel real. And I really liked this issue. Thought it was the best one yet. Really good. Ironheart #4 is here. This book is great. I'm loving it. Feels like a fun, classic Marvel comic, like the kind that I read when I was a kid growing up. Really like Riri. She's a great character. Eve Ewing totally has this character nailed. Totally understands pace. action scenes, added with Luciano Vecchio and Matt Mila on the artwork. Fantastic stuff. I really like the artwork. It's dynamic. But one reason in particular why this issue just blew me out of the park, why blew it out of the park, Midnight's Fire. That's right, classic Night Thrasher villain. Midnight's Fire, front and center. Could possibly we get Night Thrasher, a Night Thrasher appearance soon? I hope so. That would be amazing. Even if not, though, this is fun stuff. Makes Midnight Fire very interesting villain, Killmonger-esque at times. But Riri, it's a great story, great art, great pace, great energy. Really, really loving it. Feels very classic Marvel for me. X-Force number 5 is here. This, it's not the strongest X book, but it is interesting enough. And if you want to follow Kid Cable and what his story is, you got to read this book. This issue in particular goes back and it tells us a little bit about the origin of Kid Cable, where Kid Cable came from, where he got this crazy notion that he had to come back into the past and kill the older version of himself. Plus, the new Strife, New Mutant Liberation Front. That's really, really interesting stuff. I like the new redesign on Strife. I'm really interested to see more about that. But this has been a fun X-Force book. I really do think so. It's not the strongest X book right now, but it's pretty good. Mr. and Mrs. X number 9 is here, and I think this is one of the strongest X books right now. I really, really do. I used to hate Rogue and Gambit, especially when they were together. Kelly Thompson has completely changed my opinion on these characters. This book is fun, it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's sexy, it moves, it's quick, it's got a great energy to it. This book is fantastic, and it really does do a lot of reflection and respect on the relationship of Gambit and Rogue. So old school Gambit and Rogue fans, you're gonna like it, but it's real, real fun. I like the artwork. I love the stories. I love the dialogue. It's really, really snappy. Kelly Thompson has turned me into a Rogue and Gambit fan. It's happened. Age of X-Men rolls on through with the Extremist issue number 2. The Age of X-Men stuff is pretty decent, but we're all a couple issues now into these series, and it feels like the whole idea is that this is mutant utopia, but they can't really love, they can't touch, they can't have an emotional or physical connection with someone. It's like, is that it? Is that it, really? Like, I want more of I just want more intricacy. It feels like the original Age of Apocalypse was a little bit more intricate than what this is laid out to be. Anyway, about this book in particular, Extremist, it's all right, it's pretty decent, but it's one of the least interesting books of the Age of X-Men, at least to me, but it does set up a really unlikely kind of romance love story thing, maybe, in this issue. Really interesting stuff. X-Fans, definitely want to check that one out. Marvel Comics Presents number 3 is here, and after a really, really solid issue number 1 and issue 2, a little bit of a weaker issue number 3, the Wolverine story that's continuing on by Charles Soule and company, that's been really fun, and a way better job on a Wolverine story than Soule did with any of the death and return and hunt and all that kind of stuff, right? The Captain America story in here, especially with the artwork by Daniel Acuna, was really, really cool. My favorite highlight. The Spider-Man story at the end, though, a little overly verbose, a little clunky, just a little stilted, a little static. Didn't really do much for me on that one, but I really do like that Captain America story. I'm super pumped for the next issue, though, because I've got a Moon Knight story in that one. So from Archie Comics, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. So Sabrina is relaunched, and it's actually pretty good. It's written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Veronica Fish. It's really cool. It's a nice fresh start. New take on, not a really new take, but it's a new classic take on Sabrina. Be warned, though, this is not like the chilling adventures of Sabrina. It's not super dark or evil or anything like that. This is more like an updated, fresher version of the classic Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and that was refreshing. I really did like it. I like the artwork. It's pretty decent. It's pretty solid. Kelly Thompson knows what she's doing, and so does Veronica Fish and company. So there it is. Bad Luck Chuck is a new one from Dark Horse with a really interesting premise. The main character right here, she has perpetually bad luck. It is a legitimate thing. Wherever she goes, there's going to be a car wreck, a building's going to burn down or something like that. So she starts a business where she's basically disaster for hire. So if you want your place to burn down and collect insurance money, you call her, she comes and dines there at your restaurant, and your restaurant burns down and you collect the insurance money. So it's a pretty decent concept, but a little bit of a clunky execution, maybe some dialogue that doesn't really fit. It's not very natural. Some weird gaps, just really weird jumps in the story. Ultimately, though, I do like the artwork. I do like the concept, but it just didn't really do much for me. Didn't really hook me in and make me want to come back. Black Hammer, Age of Doom, number 9 is here. Jeff Lemire he did this thing where he built up Black Hammer about this big mystery, then he solved the big mystery. So what's the direction of the book going to be? Well, it's found its direction, and it didn't take it long to do it. I'm loving it. Ormston's artwork, like usual. Dave Stewart, Todd Klein, veterans of the industry. Seriously, one of the best colorists, one of the best letterers, period. Jeff Lemire, one of the best writers around right now. This book is fun. It feels melancholy, bittersweet, sickly, nostalgic, really, really fun stuff. And I like this new direction. It's kept me engaged even after they revealed the big mystery. There's a whole new thing coming, and it's really, really fun. Very, very fun. Also from Dark Horse, we got Umbrella Academy, Hotel Oblivion #6, the penultimate issue of this volume 3 of Umbrella Academy. Real fun stuff. I've been following Umbrella Academy. It's great. It's real, real fun. This is another crazy balls to the wall story. Lots of stuff that we already found out in the TV show is finally revealed, for instance. Now it's like Gerard Way and company, they realize, we got to catch up real quick. But I'm loving Umbrella Academy. If you like the TV show, definitely check out the comic books, Volume 1, Volume 2. One more issue in Volume 3, and it's going to be collected in a trade very, very soon. I'm so happy to be caught up on Umbrella Academy, because now I can read it, every single new issue, and know what's going on. Really fun stuff. Love it. Love it. Hellboy in the BPRD 1956, issue #5. This is the final issue of this series, I believe. It's the final one. Then there will be another one, 1957, right? So this has been an interesting story. This entire 1956 run has really just kind of slowly set up an upcoming threat on the horizon, while letting Hellboy, his time in Mexico, seeing what happened in the BPRD around that. So it's really been interesting to look behind the scenes on a little bit of Hellboy history. It's been really, really fun, but what's interesting and super exciting is the big threat that's coming up on the horizon. They're really building something really cool for Hellboy right there. Ice Cream Man #11 is here. This was a fantastic issue, as usual, from Ice Cream Man. Each issue is its own story, but there's this overall super creepy narrative that's kind of flowing and forming. This issue is a great, great new entry into this horror anthology. This one is about this dude who gets stuck in reality TV, going from show to show to show. It's horrific. It's terrible. It's obviously about reality TV. We all have our reality TV guilty pleasures, things like that. Right now, mine's Gordon Ramsay. I'm just eating all that stuff up, no pun intended. Ice Cream Man #11 is great. It's a little bit like that movie Stay Tuned. Do you remember that? But it's really, really cool. The artwork by Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran is just so beautiful. The coloring, everything about it. So creepy, so disturbing, so just filled with despair. Ice Cream Man is very, very effective. If you haven't been reading it, I highly encourage you to check it out. Man-Eaters #7 is here with another thrilling issue. I really like this. And what Chelsea Cain is doing is not just telling a great, interesting story. She's also her and the whole team are really finding interesting experimental ways to get the story across, have a little bit of fun with it. All these little ads, all these little bits, the different techniques they use in the artwork. Really, really fun stuff. And then by the end of it, man, this story just took a turn, and I'm really, really pumped. Man-Eaters is something I really, really like right now. I think it's something very, very special. Isola is here with issue #7. Man, only 7? It feels like this has been going on for so much longer. It's bi-monthly now, so it comes out every couple months. This has got some of the best artwork out there. It's beautiful. The coloring, everything about it is elegant. Everything. The pacing. Everything about this. It's a fantasy tale. I'm not usually the hugest fan of just straight up fantasy works, but I really like this. It's got this nice slow pace to it, this melancholy tone, and seriously, some of the most beautiful artwork on shelves right now. Fantastic. We've been loving Isola here. Skyward returns, kicking off the 3rd arc with issue #11, Fix the World, Part 1. So, in a world where gravity stops working, and now it's up to this young lady to follow her father's plans and fix it, and you start realizing what his plan was in this issue, and it's really, really cool. Just when you think that maybe this is getting a little too simple, maybe you could go ahead and trade weight it, they do something in the story that keeps me interested, keeps me firmly engaged in the story. They did it again here. I love this. Really cool concept. What if gravity stopped working? And how would the world evolve out of that? Really interesting stuff. Check it out. Peter Kanan Thunderbolt #3 is here. This book is amazing. It's fantastic. Peter Kanan Thunderbolt is the original Charlton character or whatever that Ozymandias is based on from The Watchmen. And so they just run straight into that with this. And the issue #2, the best visualizing visualization of interdimensional travel ever. Just awesome, cool stuff happens in issue 3 as well. Really, really fun. It's basically like the classic pulpy Peter Kanan comes up against Ozymandias from The Watchmen. And it's been fun. It's been great. A stellar team. Karen Gillan, Casper Wingard, Haas from Panel by Panel as the letterer, the coloring. Everything about this book is really, really cool. And when you get to the end of it, man, they're doing some crazy stuff with Peter Kanan Thunderbolt. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? From Valiant Comics, we got The Forgotten Queen #2, written by Teenie Howard, who just recently signed an exclusive contract to Marvel. Be on the lookout for a lot of upcoming work for her, from her. Forgotten Queen #2, pretty interesting. It's about this badass immortal warrior and her story during the time of Genghis Khan and how that relates to a story that she's also telling now. Really interesting, very engaging, great artwork, really appealing story, a really neat character. I kind of like it. I really did like issue #2. I thought it was a nice continuation of the pace of issue #1. And finally, let's talk about Avant Garde's #3 from Boombox. It's about a basketball team from an art school, and it's great. It's vibrant. It's fun. It's written by Carly, right? Yeah, Carly Houston, illustrated by Noah Hayes, colored by Rebecca Nolte, lettered by Ed Dukeshire. I love this book so much. It's nice. It's got a nice, fun approach to it. It's very novel. I really like the characters. I really like the story. It's about basketball, but it's also, they're an art school, and they've never had a basketball team. And it's about the battles that they have to fight to get that team recognized and what they're doing. Really fun stuff. I like it. Vibrant, bright, fresh, and fun. That's what I thought about it. So that's what I read this week. A huge new comic book week. What are you excited for? Let me know in the comments down below. I know a lot of you guys are going to hit the shops getting Detective Comics 1000. Some really, really cool covers. Some really cool stories in that. But don't miss out on some of these other books like Peter Kanan Thunderbolt, Wasted Space for sure, Friendo for sure, Dial H for Hero, other things like that. Ice Cream Man, fantastic work out this week, so be on the lookout for it. Try something new this week, why don't you? Anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Like I said, let's talk about comics. Let's get the conversation going in the comments down below. What are you reading? What are you loving? What are you excited about? Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Join us every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Central Time for the Robbie Rants live stream. That's right, we'll be doing one this week, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And join us at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.